She has a narrative, and she's a very domineering woman. She controls everything. There's an appalling narcissism there, an appalling self-interest. It's self-love. That, especially for Meghan, everything is about self-love.
Yes.
Which becomes sort of her survival instinct. Everything is about her.
He is having a breakdown in real time. We see it. He is completely unable to hide the totally complex feelings that come to the fore every time he is in public with them. In some ways, he does despise his wife. I mean, we saw that on the recent Middle Eastern tour when he was constantly rejecting her attempt at public displays of affection because he knows that what she's doing is like ownership. It's not about love. It's not about affection. It's about ownership, and it's about showing the world who is in control, and he can't stand.
At first, the claim that Meghan had brainwashed Harry sounded like just another piece of flashy gossip, the kind of headline people scroll past without thinking twice. Royal drama shows up all the time, and most of it fades just as fast as it appears.
She had one amazing ability, which was to find a man who needed her.
Oh.
And she played him brilliantly. The actress was sensational.
But this story didn't feel like ordinary rumor noise. The way it was written came across more like a serious breakdown than casual speculation, filled with details that felt sharp, layered, and honestly shocking. Then came the real twist. Harry and Meghan's own reaction seemed to send the book racing straight to the top of the charts before it even officially dropped. Suddenly, the conversation got louder and the attention grew intense. The author didn't just toss out the word brainwashed and disappear. He backed it up with specific claims, the kind that are hard to ignore once they're out there. According to the claims, Harry started pulling away from people who had been part of his life for years, almost like longtime friendships suddenly didn't matter anymore. People who once stood close reportedly found themselves completely cut off. Then came an even bigger shift. It was said that Harry changed his phone number without informing family members.
We landed in Canada, and one of our security guards who had been with H for so long, and these guys were so wonderful, I just collapsed in his arms crying. I was like, I tried so hard. He goes, I know you did. I know you did, ma'am. I know you did.
A move that many saw as a major turning point rather than something minor. Reports also suggested that his personality began to shift in noticeable ways over time. The way he reacted, the tone he used, even how he handled small frustrations started to feel different to those watching closely. Moments that once seemed easygoing suddenly appeared more tense. The relaxed and playful image people associated with Harry for years seemed to slowly fade into something more serious and guarded. Some might try to dismiss all of this as exaggeration, but the author didn't rely on just one statement. Across more than 300 pages, he described what looked like a repeated pattern rather than isolated incidents. The claims stretched across friendships, family connections, public responsibilities, and even Harry's broader public image.
All the money gone, a few months later, in autumn 2025, the Sussexes faced a harsh reality. The foreign tours and the Invictus competition had been lucrative, yet they were fast running out of money. With high security costs, they needed every year at least $3 million after paying tax to survive.
Yeah, I think professionally they've gone down dramatically, and I predicted it in the book, but even I would not have thought it'd be that accelerated.
The same cycle kept appearing: distance first, influence second, and then visible fallout. That phone number change didn't seem random when viewed alongside the rest of the claims. Many discussions focus only on the brainwashed label because it grabs attention fast, but that was only the surface of what was being suggested. The deeper narrative pointed toward gradual redirection rather than sudden change, presenting a picture of someone moving step by step toward a different path. The story also suggested Harry pushed harder for independence from royal structure, stepping further away from expectations tied to tradition. According to the claims, this shift went beyond public roles and reached into private relationships as well.
Well, you know, Piers, you're the first person to say how limited Prince Harry is, unfortunately, and how his wife trades off her husband's fame and fortune, or not so great fortune now. I mean, this is the problem, but we're still interested because, after all, he's a great character in our modern day.
Long-time connections reportedly weakened, and communication gaps grew wider, leaving some people feeling confused about the sudden distance. Tensions were also said to have surfaced during a 2018 meeting at Kensington Palace. During that moment, William and Catherine reportedly attempted to step in before disagreements escalated further. It was claimed that Meghan responded firmly, telling William to take his finger out of her face. The situation, as described, added another intense chapter to an already dramatic narrative.
Harry has a problem because he's lost his charity centre Bailey in Africa. He had better up, and all these commercial deals are declining. I think that his reputation is somewhat toxic, and I think Invictus is his only lifeline, and there'll be problems with that too.
That tense moment didn't appear out of nowhere. Before the engagement was even announced, William had reportedly warned Harry that the relationship with the American actress was moving too fast. According to the book, Catherine also had concerns, believing Meghan may have been focused on Harry's very slim chances of ever becoming king. Suddenly, what first sounded like scattered opinions began lining up into a bigger picture that kept pointing back to the same theme, influence, and direction shaping major decisions. On its own, that could easily be dismissed as personal bias. Two people can share the same opinion by coincidence, sure. But when multiple figures from different backgrounds describe similar patterns separately,
I think that's the whole issue, that they were globally, and they are globally known, but because of the way they behaved in the last 4 or 5 years, and as the price of betrayal, their reputation and their status and their fortunes are crumbling.
it starts to feel less random and more coordinated. Camilla, William, Catherine, along with a charity executive and a professional brand auditor, were all said to notice similar shifts. Experts often call this converging testimony, when independent observations begin to echo each other in unexpected ways. Just when the situation already seemed serious, the story took another sharp turn. What reportedly happened within Harry's charity pushed the conversation far beyond everyday royal headlines into something much more difficult to ignore.
They said Mr. Bauer's commentary has long crossed the line from criticism into fixation. This is someone who has publicly stated the monarchy in fact depends on actually obliterating the Sussexes from our state of life, language that speaks for itself.
In 2023, Dr. Sophie Chandauka, a Zimbabwean-born corporate finance lawyer who received an MBE, stepped in as chair of the board for the charity Harry co-founded to support vulnerable communities. This was a project he had once described as deeply personal, something closely tied to his long-term purpose. She didn't walk in with assumptions or emotional opinions. According to the claims, she arrived with detailed research. During a fundraising flight from Singapore to Tokyo,
Meghan seems like she could be on the Sarah Ferguson path.
She always looks good. She always survives. You never see a moment of weakness
Right.
in public. I mean, Meghan is a consummate survival actress.
funded by Japanese philanthropist HAA Honda, Chandauka reportedly presented a full brand audit directly to Harry. The analysis covered 50 organizations and donors, not just a small sample, but a wide group, all answering one central question. Did they still want to be publicly associated with Prince Harry? The reported results painted a difficult picture. According to Bauer's account, Chandauka told Harry that his personal brand value had declined noticeably, especially among donors connected to media partnerships. Then came the statement that quickly spread across headlines.
There's no comparison there because Harry continues to back Meghan Markle, publicly back her and all of her terrible behavior, not to mention the fact that Johnny Depp has always been a bad boy film star rather than a royal trying to do good in the world.
She reportedly said, "People don't want to be associated with your Netflix shows, and especially not with Meghan." That line carried serious weight because it suggested concerns weren't limited to one region or one audience. The claims went even further, stating Meghan's public brand recognition in the United States and globally was seen as limited and in some cases viewed as creating complications for Harry's remaining partnerships. Harry's reaction, as described, spoke volumes. He didn't reportedly ask for detailed numbers or challenge the research directly. Instead, he referenced actor Johnny Depp, pointing out how Depp maintained strong public support even after a very public legal conflict with Amber Heard.
I think she is a person who's done huge damage to the royal family, has been deeply, deeply inaccurate on many issues, and is of absolutely no value either to the royal family or society. But she just sucks from it, she takes from it and exploits it and profits.
In Harry's view, recovery after public controversy seemed possible, but Chandauka's reported response was firm and direct. She made it clear that public opinion shifts quickly and that strategies that worked in the past do not always apply in a completely different situation. Then she reportedly pushed the message even further, saying, "We need American corporates who want to be associated with your mission, not you personally." That statement alone shifted the focus away from personality and back toward purpose. But the next line was the one that truly landed with force. They don't want your victimhood. That wasn't framed as casual advice. It sounded more like a direct reality check delivered mid-flight in a setting where there was no easy way to avoid the conversation.
What Meghan never really understood, probably not even now, is that when she was chaired as a working royal, it wasn't because she was Meghan Markle, it was because she represented British royalty and all the values of the Queen and all the tradition and 1,000 years of history.
Think about the weight of that moment. A charity leader personally selected, sitting face-to-face on a plane explaining that public perception may be weakening and that brand associations could be influencing financial support. The response, comparing the situation to a Hollywood figure emerging from a courtroom battle, suggested someone trying to make sense of a rapidly changing landscape. That's more than an awkward exchange. It reflects a situation where confidence and uncertainty collide at the same time. According to the claims, what stands out even more is that Harry didn't immediately dismiss the findings. Bauer suggests he initially accepted the conclusions, which signals the feedback may have landed more seriously than expected.
I think she has a major problem. And I think as of this week, the signal for her great problem is that she turned up at Kevin Costner's party for the emergency workers.
Which she skipped last year. She skipped that last year. That's a great point that she...
He returned to Africa in October 2024, marking his first visit in 6 years. That kind of decision carries symbolic weight, pointing toward a possible effort to reconnect with a project that once held deep personal meaning. For a moment, it appeared like a reset might be underway. The timing, the location, the optics, everything seemed to signal an attempt to strengthen ties with earlier commitments. But the narrative presented in the book suggests the direction shifted again not long after. Bauer claims that once Meghan became involved in the decision-making process, the path Harry seemed to be moving towards suddenly changed course, adding another layer of tension to an already complex situation.
Not in a million years did Meghan think that she was going to score Prince Harry. She thought she was going to score Andrew until Fergie put a stop.
The situation reportedly became even heavier when discussions turned toward control of the charity itself. The reasoning described raised eyebrows because the focus moved away from the results of the audit and onto the fact that an evaluation had taken place at all. According to the claims, the argument centered on the idea that the audit process itself caused psychological distress, creating debate not just about outcomes, but about whether the review should have happened in the first place. By March 2025, both Harry and co-founder Prince Seiso reportedly stepped away from the organization completely.
Having somebody like Dr. Sophie Chandauka, who Harry and Meghan see as being beneath them, tell them, listen, we've done a brand audit and it sucks.
That decision marked a major shift away from something that had once been closely tied to Harry's public identity. Later, the Charity Commission for England and Wales reviewed the matter and, by August 2025, cleared Harry of any widespread or systemic bullying claims. Even with that conclusion, the situation had already created instability within the organization, changing leadership dynamics and leaving the future direction uncertain. What had once appeared steady now looked far less predictable. The pattern that some observers described didn't remain theoretical. According to the narrative, it played out across multiple settings in real time, creating ripple effects that extended beyond a single event. Then the situation escalated once again when attention turned to the upcoming book.
Sussexes only will talk to people who repeat their own narrative.
Yes.
And who they can control. So the idea that you could get the truth from the Sussexes is
Meghan and Harry had the option to stay silent and allow the story cycle to cool down naturally, a strategy often used to prevent further headlines. But that is not what reportedly happened. On March 14th, 2026, nearly 2 weeks before the official release, their spokesperson issued statements to major outlets including People, Newsweek, and GB News. The response was described as strong and direct. They labeled Bauer's work a deranged conspiracy and melodrama, accusing him of crossing the line and building theories about individuals he does not personally know. That firm reaction only intensified public curiosity, drawing even more attention to the controversy surrounding the book's release.
Remember, Harry and Meghan threatened to sue at the drop of a hat, and they have never tried to sue Tom Bauer because they know what he writes is true.
Bauer didn't stay quiet either. He fired back through the Daily Express, claiming the Sussexes were running out of road in Hollywood and criticizing what he described as overwhelming self-importance. The exchange quickly gained traction, pulling more public attention toward the story. Then the numbers came in and they told their own story. By March 15th, before a single physical copy had even shipped, Betrayal had already climbed to the #1 spot on Amazon's bestseller list. Ironically, the reaction that seemed intended to shut the conversation down ended up pushing it even higher. PR expert Renee Smith, founder of Aism, explained that the public response made the couple appear visibly shaken, not necessarily because every claim is accurate, but because some points seemed close enough to what people already suspected. And when something aligns with existing public curiosity, it tends to spread even faster. One of the sharpest observations in the situation is that the Sussexes didn't directly deny the detailed claims individually. There was no specific pushback against the brand audit.
I came across with the impression of a woman who is very intelligent, very determined, very ambitious, but also ruthless. And in the end, in her terms, successful.
The reported statements from Dr. Chandauka, or the broader discussion about distancing from certain relationships. Instead, the response focused primarily on the author himself. That approach can signal a strategic shift in communication, redirecting attention away from the claims and toward the credibility of the person presenting them. Observers have pointed out that this approach reflects a familiar pattern. When uncomfortable narratives appear, whether from a family voice, a professional partner, or a writer, the spotlight sometimes moves toward the messenger instead of the message. That communication style has been discussed in royal commentary circles before.
That's only gonna work, Harry, once you kick Meghan to the curb and blow the whistle on her terrible behavior.
With some analysts suggesting it represents an effort to control the narrative during high-pressure moments. According to biographer Ingrid Seward, Prince Philip was said to have privately referred to Meghan using the nickname Duchess of Windsor, a reference to Wallis Simpson. Once that comparison enters the conversation, some commentators begin drawing parallels between two very different periods in royal history. The reference points toward a moment when an American woman entered the royal circle and long-standing structures began to shift in noticeable ways. Biographer Sally Bedell Smith also weighed in, suggesting that when an outsider joins a long-established institution, it can sometimes reshape the dynamics more than expected. However, not everyone agrees with the comparison. Some historians argue that Wallis Simpson herself attempted to prevent major upheaval, and that Edward VIII remained the primary decision-maker during that historical moment.
One observer called her limpet cling. She struck a bespotted pose as a gesture of ownership that speaks of enduring bond.
One interpretation even describes Simpson as someone holding on to a difficult situation rather than directing it. So, while parallels are often discussed, important differences remain. Still, Bauer's argument appears less focused on direct comparison and more centered on what he presents as a recurring sequence. The structure he describes highlights a gradual narrowing of trusted voices, where connections with friends, advisors, and supporters become increasingly limited over time. According to these interpretations, the core idea revolves around how influence within a close circle can grow stronger as that circle becomes smaller. Bauer claims the evidence he gathered follows this same framework step by step, suggesting that several senior figures believed they were witnessing a familiar pattern unfolding again. Then there's the future, and that's where the tension spikes even higher. The book claims that Harry worries Prince William, the future king, could one day strip the Sussexes of their royal titles entirely.
We've seen recently is the wokest of the woke turn on Harry and Meghan. It's their own kind turn.
Bauer describes that concern as more than just paranoia. It's reportedly grounded in the complex dynamics between the brothers. William hasn't said a word publicly about it, but multiple insiders suggest the relationship is fractured beyond repair. One moment seems to capture that distance perfectly. August 2024, at the funeral of Lord Robert Fellows in Norfolk. Both brothers were in the same place at the same time, but they didn't speak. They didn't sit together. They didn't even acknowledge each other. That silence reportedly said more than any statement ever could. Royal expert Ian Pelham Turner was asked directly if William would ever welcome Harry back. His answer, short, blunt, and telling, a big fat royal no. This isn't pulled from nowhere. It builds on public reporting, documented events, and small details anyone can verify, but the key lies in how all these details are being connected. When you line up Camilla's early warnings, the distancing from longtime friends, the tense Kensington Palace confrontation, the Chandauka audit, the Senta Bailey fallout, the pushback against the book, and even comparisons to Wallis Simpson, it starts forming something more structured. Suddenly, it doesn't feel like scattered drama. It looks like a repeating pattern. And the craziest part? Multiple sources across different years reportedly point in the same direction. But there's more than family tension or headlines at play, it's also about control behind the scenes. When you study the timeline, key moments don't appear random. They follow a rhythm. Each move seems to trigger the next. The media strategy, for instance, is calculated. Every major moment, interviews, documentaries, public statements, lands with both impact and consequences. The Oprah interview reportedly shifted public perception overnight. The Netflix series pulled back the curtain even further, but instead of healing connections, every move seemed to widen the gap, especially with the royal family. That gap didn't stay hidden. It became visible in silence, in skipped events, and in how both sides stopped acknowledging each other completely. That kind of distance doesn't appear overnight. It builds step by step, decision by decision, until eventually there's no easy way back. Then there's the question of identity. Harry spent most of his life in a system where roles were clearly defined, with rules, expectations, and structure shaping everything around him. Stepping outside that system wasn't just a career choice, it meant rebuilding an entire identity in a completely new world. And that's no simple feat, especially when every single move is watched, analyzed, and critiqued in real time. Every partnership, every deal, every public appearance carries pressure not just to succeed, but to prove that stepping away was the right decision. Instead of focusing on long-term stability, attention often shifts toward immediate impact. Big headlines, big reactions, big moments. That kind of strategy keeps eyes on the story, but it doesn't always create lasting support behind the scenes. And that circles back to the same question everyone keeps asking: who's really steering the direction here? When the same patterns keep appearing, distance from old friends, strong reactions to criticism, and decisions that widen the gap, it stops looking like coincidence. Over time, it begins to feel like a repeating cycle, just showing up in new ways. That's what makes it hard to ignore. These aren't just a few voices echoing the same talking points. These are completely separate people from different positions, all pointing back to the same central story. And every time someone spoke out, the reaction reportedly didn't stay on the claims themselves. Instead, attention immediately turned toward the messenger. Credibility, motives, and intentions all came under scrutiny. That repeated pattern changes how the entire situation is seen, shifting the spotlight away from the details and onto the people delivering them. At this point, it's no longer just about whether Camilla exaggerated her account. That question feels almost too small, like it misses the bigger picture entirely. If her version of events was measured and careful, then the real intrigue lies in what wasn't said. What details were left out, softened, or never revealed? That's what keeps people watching, keeps questions circulating, and ensures this story refuses to fade anytime soon. If you've got thoughts on this, drop them in the comments. Let's hear what you think. If this breakdown opened your eyes, hit subscribe and stay tuned for more deep dives like this. Don't forget to smash that like button and share it with someone who needs to see it.